This is a video inspired by the story of a man who wanted to be a video game developer and was scammed by ITT Tech. I figured I would share you my story about being scammed by the National Institute of Technology, now known as Fortis College. Here in Ohio, there's only really two options in Northeast Ohio for education, unless you want to travel all the way up to Cleveland, which I wasn't willing to do. There's either University of Akron or your standard trade school like National Institute of Technology. Um, Initially in high school, I wanted to go to college. I had good grades, but I was taking easy courses up until my junior year or sophomore year. I tried to take chemistry, and that rang alarm bells in my house. My grandparents wanted to know why, and I told them I wanted to go to college. And immediately they said, "No, you're not doing that." Um, the reason could be because my grandmother was a Jehovah's Witness, and they frown on higher education of any kind, which doesn't say much about the security of their beliefs, if you ask me, but that's another story. Um, I was very upset. I remember my dad heard about this and he tried to fight with them about not sending me to that school because he had experienced something similar. Similarly, he went to school to become a diesel technician as he wanted to get out of driving trucks the rest of his life, and unfortunately, he had the same experience I did. No one wanted to hire him because no one wanted to give him any experience. Okay, he had a degree, but no one wanted to give him a chance. It's something the same situation I had to deal with later too. Anyways, my dad, my biological father, was against it. I was being raised by my grandparents by this point, so my mother was against it, and so was my scout leaders too, because they knew it was a scam. Because other people have been taken advantage of by this school too. You know, they give you false promises and they pump you up, but more on that later. But they still forced me to go that route, which was a total waste of money. They charged 15 grand and 2,000 for 1 year of school, and the schooling was pathetic. It wasn't like college where you learn concepts, theoretical approaches, and how to evaluate evidence. It was just reading out of a book and rote memorization. Very little hands-on, and there's only one instance I think where we actually put our hands onto a computer and started physically taking things out and replacing them. I was enrolled in I signed up. I still remember the scam as it approached, as they did it. It was a high pressure sales tactic. Basically, they tried to pump up their reputation by claiming all these success stories, which, as we know from ITT Tech's failure, a lot of the success stories were bullshit. It was all, if you got a job at McDonald's after going to that school, you were considered a success story somehow. And I think the same thing happened here. In fact, on the MySpace message boards back in 2003, there were people that said that if they found out you found a job in your field on your own effort without the career placement director help, they counted that as a success and they put your picture up there like you had a job because of this education or their effort gave you this job, which is kind of bullshitty, I think, too. But more to the point, the process, they basically brought you to a room, they pumped up their reputation, and then they would, try to find out your interests and then say, here, you want this program, or do you want to do this, or do you want to go out there and try to live without an education, And they did put pressure on you because they only gave you so much time to consider it. I was wavering on it. I wanted to do something else that didn't require so much money, but eventually I gave in, which I still regret to this day. My grandparents said it was a good thing I gave up when I go to college because I didn't have the mental skills for it, which is total bullshit because I did go to college and I got 4.0 in both the master's and bachelor's degrees I have. But anyways, after that, we went into the school and our first instructor wasn't even a computer technician or of any kind. It was a PC Lance course, but his background was electronics. Yeah, imagine that. I mean, you have an electronics course at the same time we're at school, and you got an electronics teacher teaching a PC Lance course. It makes a lot of sense. The first course was, I think, A+ technicians, stuff like certifications, stuff that would help you get a certification if you wanted it. They didn't offer the test or anything like that. Most of it was like reading out of a book like this thick, just not reading out of it, answering questions at the end, testing every once in a while. That was like 9 weeks, I think. Second class was Novell NetWare and Windows NT. Third class was Armorco used CGI scripting and Perl, ASP server pages. And the last class was, I can't quite remember what that was. Shows how much value it had. Anyways, after I got on the honors list there too, and at the graduation ceremony, this kind of stuck in my craw. My grandparents and parents weren't too happy with it either. But I was on the list for being recognized as a honor student, and they forgot to mention my name. They didn't honor me like they did other people. I had to walk back, talk to the career placement director, Tony Angelotti, at the NIT school, and get my medal from them without any recognition from them. Shows you how badly organized they are. Of course, that never happened at the college I actually went to later. Anyways, about halfway through this program, there was a dot-com bomb, which pretty much fucked our chances of getting any kind of job in the field. I mean, when that happened, all the startups pretty much went bye-bye in Ohio. There's maybe a few, but you would have to travel like 300 miles to them, and there'd be no guarantee that NIT would actually help you, or that even the certificate you got was even worth the paper it was printed on, which I don't think it was. Back in the MySpace message board I mentioned earlier, there were people who, two of them claimed that when they told the HR person what school they went to over the phone, they were laughed at. I don't know if this is true or not, but it could very well be. I don't know. Anyways, after graduating, I searched all over for help desk jobs. Of course, they were outsourced to India. I looked for freelance work, couldn't really find much. Tried to get a job with GeekSpot when they came up 5 years later, but then my education was obsolete anyway. I tried Goodwill to see if they had any options, none. After a while, I just had to accept that I was scammed, basically, and just try to work, rebuilding my life as best I could. And just let go and continue moving on. That's the only thing you can do. And years later, I found out they were sued, which explained the sudden name change to Fortis College from National Institute of Technology. Pretty obvious when you see something like that, something bad happened. Corinthian colleges, if you look them up, they're the company that owns that school. If you look them up, you'll find all kinds of reports of rip-offs, all kinds of shady practices. They're having the same problems now they had back in 2000. Go to rip-off report and search for Corinthian colleges. Just see exactly what I'm talking about. I'm trying to remember what else to say. I think, if I remember correctly, only one person from my class of 12 found a job in that field. And I believe might have looked, but there was nothing available. And you had to have the right connections or be very lucky at the right moment, right time. Also, it didn't help that a lot of those companies didn't have a way to make money either. A lot of it was basically just a scam writing on the new economy bullshit that was popular back then. After getting out of that school, I was lucky I only got like $7 grand worth of money to pay back. Because my grandparents were both retired and I lived with them, half of it, which was $15,000 for 1 year, which is ridiculous. College at that time was only $4,000 a year for a full load of tuition. That gives you just ridiculous $15K. Anyways, I only had to pay like $7K at 15 because my grandparents were retired. So grants took care of the rest, so I got off luckier than the ITT Tech guy did. Later on, I did finally go back to college in 2007, and I got my bachelor's in psychology and a master's degree in 2013 to 2016. I finished a master's degree. Unfortunately, I'm right now in the same boat. There's not much opportunity here in Ohio. I have discussed selling my house and applying for a English language teaching position in Korea because my wife actually has family over there. I just haven't taken the plunge yet because I don't want to spend $2 grand on a licensing program just to find out, you're wasting your time again. But I would also have to try and settle things here first to get everything done. My grandparents are still alive and I don't want to leave while they're still alive and they die on me when I'm over in Korea either. I'm afraid if I wait too long, though, that would pretty much be the end of any chance I have to find a job with my current psychology background. The thing of it was, I wanted to join the Army and I was 33 when I got to enter the program. I was 35, still young enough, but I turned 36 in 2 months from now. so I'm essentially too old to join reserves. My wife let me go to that program, but then she changed her mind about joining the Army right after I graduated, so at this point, I can't really do much with that specialized degree at this point, unless I'm lucky enough to find a service that'll take me when I'm past 35. I can make my wife agree to it. That's a bit shaky at best. Of course, I need to cut my hair first. My grandparents always on me about that still, even to this day. Well, that's my story about being scammed by NIT. The school with lousy teachers and lousy coursework, preying on people who are naive, I guess.